Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about AngularJS dependency injection. What is dependency injection? That means we are injecting dependencies from one component to another component. Okay. So because of that injection, dependency injection, you no need to write all the code. Okay. So AngularJS comes with a built-in dependency injection mechanism. It facilitates you to divide your application into multiple different types of components, which can be injected into each other as a dependencies, right? Dependency injection is a software design pattern that specifies how components get holds of their dependencies. In this pattern, the components are given their dependencies instead of coding them within the component. You don't need to code. So if you are injecting dependencies of other component, that we can use here. Modularizing your application makes it easier to reuse, configure, and test the components in your application. Okay, it is used to, if you are modularizing application means what? So if you are modularizing application, then it is easy to reuse, configure, and test that components. Okay, the following are core types of objects and components. We have some objects and components here. See, value, factory, service, provider, and constant. These objects and components can be injected into each other using AngularJS dependency. These components and object we can inject it to each other in AngularJS. How? This we'll discuss here. Okay. First one is value, right? In AngularJS, value is what? A simple object. It can be a number type, string type, or JavaScript object type. Okay. So it is used to pass values in the factories, services, or controllers during run and configure phase. During run and configure phase, so this value object is used to pass values to factories, services, and controllers, right? So how we can define a module? You know already. We can see example of value to in how we can inject value into the controller, that we can see in this example. So for initialize, first initial step, so we need to create a module, right? How we can create a module? Angular dot module of module name comma dependency. Now we are taking one variable, we are storing here. My module is the variable name. Now the next step, create value object and pass it a data. We need to create one object here, object, value object, then we are passing data through that object. Okay, now how you can create value object? So we already create module, right? From that module, my module dot value of value name and the value itself, value name and value itself. So by here, if we are trying to access this value, so how we can access means by using this value name in the controller, right? So this is first parameter is what? Value name, and second parameter value itself. So in this way we need to create value object. So value here, value acts as a function, okay, that contains two parameters. First one value name and value. So what type of data we can pass through value object, value function? Here we can pass number type data, string type data, and JavaScript object. Okay, So what are those types? Number type, string type, and JavaScript object type. In this way you can pass module name dot value, then value name, and the value itself, the value itself. This is string type value, this is object type value. Okay, within the flower braces, this is the object var1 1 2 3 var2 val2 abc is a string and this is number. Okay, this object contains string and number. Here the values are defined using value function on the module. So here we are defining the value object by using value function. So on the module, the first parameter specifies the name of the value. The first parameter is what? Name of the value, and the second parameter is the value itself, and here the factories, services, and controllers can now reference these values by their names. Okay, so we can see example how we can inject the value. Here, to inject a value into AngularJS controller function, add parameter with the same when the value is defined. Here we can see, so we have created module and we have created object value. We are using value object, so value function having two parameters, value name and value. Now how you can access within the controller? So we are going to create controller here. So web dot controller of controller name followed by a function that contains $scope as a argument or parameter, comma. Now we are passing value here. We are injecting value. So the value name is what? Number value. If you are passing this means, so by using this name we can get this value. The output will be 100. How? By using this value name. By using this value name we can get the value. Okay, now we are passing as a parameter here. Now you can print it. Okay, console.log, or you can write document.write. So that example we can see here, right? So how I can show, already I have written that example that you can see. Value object example, right click, open with Google Chrome, and if you want to see that code, you can open with, right click, open with Notepad. Now you can see both. See here the output 100. So this is the example you can see here, right? So body tag, we have loaded AngularJS. In the body tag I have taken div tag. The module name is my module, app name is my module. By using ng-app we are initializing Angular framework. This is the root node of AngularJS. Then ng controller, so the div acts as a controller. The controller name is my controller. Next I'm printing this value, number value here. So first for injecting value, what I need to create? First module I need to create here. Next, so value object, that value function contains two parameter, value name and the value. Now I created controller. Okay, controller name function, I am passing value as parameter here. The function $scope comma number value as a parameter within the function. Now I am trying to print with document.write of number value. Whatever I pass here, the variable name that I am printing here. So this is value argument, value function argument, the value name. By using this value name I can access this value. See, that is the output here. I think you understood it. Okay, next thing, factoring. So here the factory is a function, okay, like a value. This is also function that is used to return value. What it will return? Value. When a service or controller needs a value injected from the factory, it creates the value on the demand. Okay, it normally uses a factory function to calculate and return the value. Let's take an example that defines a factory on a module and controller with which gets the factory created value injected. Okay, that we can see here. So same, we have created module, and here we are creating factory, the module reference dot factory of factory name followed by a function that returns a value. Okay, now what I should do, need to create controller, right? Controller app dot controller of controller name comma followed by a function that contains parameter $score comma, and the parameter is what? Factory name, my factory. Okay, by using that factory name, so we are passing the value of that factory. So that returns a value. This is string type, right? See, this is string type within the double quotation, that returning string value. Okay, now what will be the output? A value is the output. How you are injecting? From the factory. See the parameter by passing the parameter here, the controller. Okay, we are injecting factory into the controller. Okay, I think you understood this one, right? So how we can do? So that we can see in another example. Same code. So factory example, right click, open with Chrome browser. So a value, see the code, I click, open with Notepad. Now see the code and output, you can understand easily the factory example. See same, take and div tag, and I am trying to print the value. So here it returns what? A value. Okay, we are creating factory name, we are passing factory name here. Okay, we are injecting and we are printing that factory here. Okay, right, this is the output we can get. Next thing is what? So here the whole, these all components and objects within one example we can see value, factory, service provider. Okay, so we know about the value and the factory now. So another thing here you need to remember, injecting value into factory. To inject value into AngularJs control function, add parameters with the same when value is defined. So and you have created module name and you have created value, and from that value you are passing, injecting into the controller that we are trying to print here. So here what we need to remember, what we need to know, it is not factory function that is injected, but the value produced by the factory function. So factory function produced this value. Okay, right. The next thing we need to know about the service. In AngularJS, service is a JavaScript object which contains a set of functions to perform certain tasks. It contains set of functions. We will see that functions. Okay, so services are created by using service function. So how we can perform services? By using service function on a module and then injected into controllers that we have seen from values and factories, right? Here same, you can create a module, then create a service which defines a method square to return the square of number. So if you are entering 3 value in one text box, if you are clicking on that submit button, then it should display 3 into 3 on 3 9. Okay, that should be the output. So how you can perform that that operation we can see here. So first, this is the module name dot service. Okay, module name comma service. This is the service name followed by a function. We are passing math service. Okay, so this dot square is the function. Okay, the function name is what? Square is a function. So that through that function we are passing one value. Okay, so from the text box we are passing one value here. So that returns math service dot multiply a comma a. Here we are passing two parameters to the multiply function. Okay, so that we can discuss in the example. The second thing here, injecting service, the service name is what? Call C service into controller. How we can do? So this is the example. So module dot control of controller name, then function that contains parameter dollar scope, cal C service and default input. Default input we are passing from value. Okay, this is from service. Okay, in this way we are injecting these components into controller. Okay, now default input we are storing in number variable, and from the cal service we have square function that contains we are passing one value. Okay, number value that we are storing in result. Okay, if it is a variable, if it is a function, how we can write? So dollar scope dot square equal to function. So here in this function we are writing, we are calling call service dot square function. So and we are giving number type value that we are storing in result. If you are calling this square function, that means it is getting the value from service square function and it is storing that result into this variable dollar scope dot result is a variable here, right? Next, coming to provider. Here in AngularJS, the provider is used internally to create a service or factory, etc. So what is provider here? Provider usage is what? Here the provider is used internally to create service and service factory. Services or factories we can create internally by using this provider. Okay, during when it will be, so it will be during config phase, means phase during which AngularJS bootstrap itself. Okay, it is the most flexible form of the factory you can create. Why we are using this one means most flexible form of factory you can create by using this. Provider is a special factory method with a get function which is used to return the value or service or factory. What provider specifies? Special contains. The provider is a special factory method, okay, with the get function. That means this provider having get function, that by using that get function you can return value or service or factory. So we have example here. So first we need to define whatever you want to do. First you need to define create a module by using angular.module. Then this is the name of the module here, right? So here you can see create a service using provider which defines a method square to return the square of a number. So how? By using config. So module name dot config that contains a function. So dollar provide. So dollar provide dot provider. So this is the provider we are created. So math service is the provider name and comma function that is having a get function, right? This dot dollar get, this represents what? Current data, current value. Okay, so latest value. So by using this get function, So we are returning the factory or service or value, right? So here we are returning factory value, that's the variable. So how we can get that value? Okay, how we can return that factory value? So factory dot multiply is equal to function a comma b, two parameters we are passing. So that means we are passing single value, so it multiplied each other and it will return the output a into b. Okay, finally we are knowing about constants. So here you cannot inject value into the module .config function, we cannot inject, but instead constants are used to pass values at config ways. So this is the example. So module name dot constant, then constant name, then constant value. Okay, so by using these all objects and components, we have created one example. uh, this all By using these all components, we have created one example that we can understand. So dependency injection is one example I have created. So open with the Google Chrome, and if you want to see the output, so right click, open with notepad. Now you can see the output and coding part, dependency coding part. See, so what I have done here, so I have created one text box, enter a number. If you are entering a number here, if you are clicking on this button, the square result we will get here. See, 3 square 9 30 square 900. We are getting output. How this process happened? Through this all the components and the objects. See, for UI we have taken what? One text field, square, and a result we want to display. See here, those all the things I have written within the div tag. See, ng app equal to app name and ng controller, the controller name. Then I have taken one input text field, enter a number, input type equal to number, and for representing model I have used AngularJs attribute ng-model equal to number. The model name is number here. Regarding to input type, then I have created one button ng click event I have given. So square, the button name here, x super 2 means x square, so that we can see here. Okay, so if you are clicking on this button, it will move to ng click event, then we will get the result here. Okay, so this process, so function name is what here? Square. Okay, so that event, for occurring this event, what is the process that we can see here? So first see the script. So we have uh, getting loaded AngularJS file, external AngularJS file. Next we are writing AngularJS script within the script. So here we are creating module. First we need to create module, right? How we can create? Angular.module of module name comma dependency. The variable name is main app. So main app dot config. We are configuring the function that contains an argument $provide. From that $provide, you are creating provider with the name of provider is what? Math service. Math service is the provider name which provides the data. So here that contains the function. Okay, that function having get function. So this dot get $get equal to function. So we have taken one variable, then factory dot variable name dot multiply is the function name that contains two variables, as an argument, then we are performing operation A into B. So that means it are returning A into B here. Which function? The get function. So here finally what you are returning? So here you are returning provider function, right? So that returns the factory, the main value which you have given as empty here, right? So next what we need to do, how you can pass that value? See, main app dot value default input comma 10 is the exact value. So we are having value object. So value as a function here, that the first parameter represents value name, the next parameter is what? Value. Next, from that module dot we are creating factory name mass service comma function, same thing that returns a factory, the variable name. So factory dot multiply, that is having two parameters A and B, that returns A into B is the operation. Now you can see module dot service we are creating, service name, then function we are passing parameter mass services here. So that in that we are writing this dot square is a function here. So that function having only one parameter, so value which are we are entering. So now that returns mass service dot multiply of a comma a, that means what it returns? A comma a into a, that operation we can see. Finally we are creating a controller here, main module name dot controller of controller name comma function that contains a dollar scope as a parameter. Till this you know. Now another parameters we are passing calci service, that means a factory, then default value. This is a value. Okay, default value is what? 10. Okay, value object are returning what? 10, right? So now default input we are storing into number, then we are getting result of square through call service dot square dollar scope dot number, that we are storing in result. Okay, if it is a variable, if it is a function means same way you can create here square scope dot square equal to function that dollar scope dot result, we are storing this value, okay, into result. How we can get this value? Call service dot square method, square function. We have square function. So here's the square function, we are passing dollar scope dot number. So what dollar scope dot number we are passing? So it is passing here and it's calling multiply. So it is going for multiply, and then it will perform operation, then again it returns a factory value, then we are storing that result here. Okay, finally we are printing that result here through the binding variable. Okay, so that is the process we need to remember in the dependency injection. Okay, so these are the objects and components we have used. Okay, we have injected. So to flexible, for getting flexible of configuring or testing the components, we are following this process. Okay, that's all about today's session. We will see in the next session, the next chapter. Right, thank you for all for listening this session. Thank you all.